The Mannin Line, daily interaction, debate and exchange of ideas. Broadcast on Manx Radio from midday till 1, Monday to Friday. Manx Radio weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Garamaya, thank you, Siobhan, from the Ronaldsway Met Office. There's no wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea is slight, occasionally moderate, and the weather for this afternoon is dry with sunny spells. A moderate wind coming in from the west or southwest. Daylight maximum 18 degrees. This evening and tonight will be cloudier than daylight hours. Lowest temperature 13. And for Saturday, Jasan, cloudy with a chance of showers first thing. A dry and sunny afternoon. Top temperature 18 degrees. A dry evening and overnight, minimum 12. And for Sunday, Jadooni, dry and fine. A risk of some coastal mist and 19 degrees. Tides on the way back in. High waters 9 minutes to 4. Sunset 27 minutes past 9. Low tide 13 minutes after 10. High water 23 minutes past 4 a.m. and sunrise in the morning 24 minutes past 5.
Manx Glass and Glazing don't just do the big jobs. It's easy to repair broken greenhouse glass at Manx Glass and Glazing. For greenhouse glass cut to size, call 674 573.
Provide new memorial stones, grave renovations, new inscriptions and fire hearths. Visit us at Hope Street, Castletown or at Broadway, Douglas, or call 844 440. TE Cubban, here when you need us.
Ambitions Recruitment Consultants, covering all business sectors in the Isle of Man. Register online or email your CV to info@ambitions.co.im or ring 614 841. Ambitions, for all your recruitment needs, however big or small.
We all need peace of mind. That's where Peace of Mind Manx Will Writing Services can help you. From just £149 plus VAT. Call 671 001 or go to peaceofmind.co.im.
Most builders start with a hammer and saw. Manx Construction start with ideas and imagination. For new build, extension or home office, Manx Construction offer full service from planning to completion. Call Tony on 452 688.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster by, good afternoon. We're on Mannin Line today, this Friday lunchtime. Open line through till 1. Call 66 13 68. Text 166 177. WhatsApp, same number. Email studio@manxradio.com. Any thoughts on what we were talking about yesterday? And I don't mean Cherry Jaffa case, we seem to have tracked down Nigel Dean. No cruise liner in today. Next cruise liners are next Monday and Tuesday. On Monday, Seabourn. The big Seabourn Sojourn is coming into Douglas Bay on Monday, 8 o'clock Monday morning. I think she's going to be arriving. Monday means one thing, of course, no horse trams, unless they've changed the routine. Oh dear. That's Seabourn Sojourn on Monday, and the Grand Circle travel line Corinthian is coming in on Tuesday, which is the 30th of July. Crikey, it's August next week. Can you imagine? This is where we are, and soon to be MGP in the not too distant future. It's all happening. Olympics start today. In fact, some started already, but the officials start tonight with apparently Celine Dion getting €2 million to appear there. Can you imagine that? David's first on today. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. I just want to now got the cushag watch. So today I went down past Summerhill Views, which was the old Glenside there.
Yeah.
The great building, not occupied. We don't know when the residents are going to move in. But have you seen the cushags outside on the hedge? On
which side? On the Victoria Road side?
Yeah. And I wonder then, because the place is ran by an outside agency now, are they going to be prosecuted on Monday for not cutting the cushag down? Or is it the Health Minister or the DOI Minister?
Well, that's the last place you're going to want poisonous plants, isn't it? To imagine there's nobody there, of course.
Yeah, well, no, there is. It's the jab centre.
Of course, yeah.
You've got, which brings me on to the other subject. I went past M&Co today, and I stopped because the lady was struggling just to walk on the pavement. So I stopped, went over and said to her, "Can I help you? Look as though you're struggling." She said she didn't know my name was David Quirk, but I told her that. She said to me, on the road there, it says disabled parking, but it's got double yellow lines. So you remember when they had the jab centre there?
Yeah.
So they extended the disabled spaces. So she said, can I park here now, or will I get a ticket? I said, I couldn't tell you. I said, the only place you'd ever know anything like that is ringing the DOI up. And you know what they're like for an answer.
So are the disabled spaces there, they've just got yellow lines over them, or what is it?
No, the yellow lines were always there. But remember when they had the extra jab centre down at the street there, they made the extra disabled spaces because people were struggling to get up and down the lift. Remember the lift wasn't working?
Yeah.
And they were parking up there. But it all comes down to, are we maintaining the assets we've got? Now, I went to Marx's car park, as people do, park on the top, a lovely day, thinking to myself, there's one cushag growing there, but the troughs on the top there, which is supposed to be planted with flowers or something, people could look at and appreciate, is full of weeds. So who's looking after that? So I rang the DOI. It's the DOI. So I said to them, can we not get somebody down there to do something about it? Or do we have to get a group together like Beach Buddies? We could do a weed watch group and go out and hack all these weeds down. It's just, and you see them all the time. When you're sitting there looking and you think to yourself, why don't we do a bit here? It wouldn't take that much money, would it?
And also, I mean, going back to paint on the roads, I'm a big believer in paint on roads because fresh paint on the roads always it makes the place look new. You know, even if the road's not that brilliant, fresh paint makes it look like somebody's paying attention.
Yeah, and it brings me to my final issue too, is we've been waiting 4 months, the back of Elm Tree Road near the Co-op there, to get the disabled wheelchair symbol painted on the deck. And I've been on to them, and they said, it'll be done, Mr. Quirk, after TT week. It'll be done after TT week. Still waiting. So the disabled spot, actually in law, doesn't comply till that's done. And there's a little plaque that says, this is a disabled space. Come on, DOI, get your finger out.
Well, you would have thought so, and this is for disabled people. Let's be honest. This is for people who don't cope as well as everybody else. Surely, give them a break.
Yeah. Well, I wondered. Remember our colleague up in Ramsey? He would try to get on this disabled committee to pressurise the government into doing drop-down curbs and making cutouts and making pavements more friendlier. I just wonder whatever happened to that committee. Did it ever meet? Did it ever get together? And who was chairing it? But maybe somebody up Ramsey would tell us. Okay.
All right. Thanks, David. Have a good weekend.
See you, boy.
Cheers now. It's 12 minutes past 12. Well, I'm sure Eric will know what ever happened to that committee looking at disabled facilities in the north and beyond. Am I alone thinking that smart paint, there's a saying, isn't there, as smart as paint, that new road paint makes everything look a lot smarter? And quite a lot of the double yellow lines, I mean, the detested double yellow lines, but the double yellow lines nonetheless, just look a bit naff. They look a bit worn out, a bit tired, a bit spent. Maybe. Anyway, Howard's with us now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. I was just thinking that yesterday when I came through Fort North, the roundabout up the top of the road.
Yeah.
That's all been repainted, and as you rightly say, how much nicer it looks. It gives a more pleasant outlook, apart from the safety factor. But yes. But what I'm ringing for is something that we've talked about, and people coming onto the programme, ANRP. I was going through Quarterbridge yesterday. I was going out to Laxey, and just outside the little Nook Cafe, there was a triangular sign. You are now entering an ANRP zone. And the chap was standing with his little camera and a tripod over on the grass area by the access road.
Yeah.
So, was that ever made legal? is it illegal? And anybody that's been caught yesterday for a misdemeanor, would any charge be brought, and would it be legal?
I wonder, is that purely going to be for road tax, do you think?
Well, having said that, he is, apart from the police going around and seeing I don't know whether the Highway Board, the DOI as they call themselves, have any legal standing on it. Because it's the legislation's made, but it's down to the police to enforce it.
And this was at Quarterbridge yesterday?
At Quarterbridge yesterday afternoon, about 2:30. When I came back, they'd gone, or he had gone, and the sign was gone, probably moved on to pastures new. But we just, not we, but it was discussed whether ANRP legislation, because it was one of the politicians that brought it up, whether it was legal for the DOI to operate this system, and they were talking about bringing it into the police cars, etc., here on the island. Now, I've no doubt they have it, but nobody says they have or haven't. But this fellow was quite open about it with a large triangular sign, yellow sign, and he was standing over on the grass verge in his high-vis jacket, etc., and watching the camera, and the camera was pointing towards the roundabout coming off Quarterbridge, Peel Road, etc. So he was there on a purpose. He had a mission. So whether there was any legality in it, I don't know, or whether they're just chancing their arm again.
Okay, all right, thanks. Are you on duty this weekend at the Camera Obscura?
Yes, hopefully Sunday, if the weather holds out, Sunday afternoon.
Looks like it's going to, certainly. Okay, all right, thanks, Howard.
Okay, by the way, I've received a thing the other day, and it's a copy of the patent of the operational factor of the Camera Obscura, and the chap that originally owned it, he put a patent in 1891. That's how old the system is for the Camera Obscura in Douglas.
Crikey.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Howard.
Thanks, then. Take care.
Good to hear from
now.
you. Howard, if you don't know, is one of the people who, along with the people from the Victorian Society, who manned the Camera Obscura on Douglas Head for the Victorian Society. 11 lenses, and it is stunning technology. It's Victorian, it was 1892, I think it was, or something like that. But one of the few Camera Obscuras in the British Isles, and again, something that we fought hard to keep, like the Gaiety Theatre. Don't know whether you remember when the Camera Obscura virtually fell into disrepair. There was a consortium from Japan that were very keen to get the Camera Obscura lenses and take them to Japan. We'd never have seen it again, and the Victorian Society put the shoulder to the wheel, and we now have the Camera Obscura. It's well worth £3. A quick observation regarding food security, Isle of Man being a real issue since Tesco took everything over. Dates on food now often are the same day that you bought them. Vegetables and salad are a struggle in the Isle of Man at the moment. Farming in the Isle of Man seems on its knees, says Texter 143. We'll find out more when we're at the Royal Show. And I think the chief exec of DEFA is going to be with us on that day, Scott Gallagher. So, any thoughts on that? And did you see ANPR? Apparently, some of the Manx police cars have automatic number plate recognition, ANPR, cameras fitted, says Fred. So it must be legal at the moment, and presumably that officer who was at Quarterbridge yesterday or by the access road was doing a check. Of course, I just wonder whether or not they can link through to the UK system in Swansea, the DVLA in Swansea, because there are lots of the tales of UK registered cars coming over here, and in that 6 months have got lapsed UK car tax. I just wonder whether if it is a revenue generation thing, well, of course, if you drive a car, you have to observe all the legalities. You have to be taxed, and you have to be legal, you have to be insured. That's just the way things are. And of course, it would help if you pass your driving test. I've just been told that Ramsey Hard of Hearing Office, from September, you're going to need to go to Douglas Hospital to have your hearing aids repaired. So catch a bus, spend all day if you don't have a vehicle. Is this true that the Ramsey Hard of Hearing office from September is going to be closing and everybody's going to have to go to Douglas? I was sitting in the traffic yesterday at Ballasalla, held up by the temporary traffic lights. There's a UK registered car ahead of me that just sat on the area right by the railway lines. If a train comes, the gates would have come down on the vehicle. The yellow hatchings are totally worn away and can barely be seen. This is dangerous, needs dealing with. Paint markings around the Isle of Man are bad, says Paul J. Thank you, Paul. That wouldn't do, would it? Of course, if something went badly wrong, everybody be out with a paint pot. But it would be better, a stitch in time and all that. Oh, this is regarding Ronaldsway. The reality of flying if you're disabled. At Ronaldsway, I booked a wheelchair and it never turned up. I was forced into the lift only when the booked wheelchair assistance, and then when somebody turned up, I was left in the passenger tunnel for someone else to take me to the exit. Why doesn't Ronaldsway have a wheelchair ready when booked? It feels like disabled people are second class, but we shouldn't be bullied into going into the ambulift when not needed. And if it's already booked special assistance, why is there never a person ready to meet the person at the bottom of the aircraft steps? You feel disabled enough already, says Chris, without being made to feel worse. Also, a fellow passenger said her husband was left for an hour without anybody turning up. That prompts me to a letter in from Dennis, who said, could anybody tell me why the airport doesn't allow the minibus to come and meet the passenger transfer that flies back from Liverpool in the evening? It's a very long day for people who are going to Liverpool on the passenger transfer, the patient transfer system in the morning. Usually it's the first flight of the day, coming back at about 8 o'clock, late 8 o'clock in the evening. So why don't they allow the minibus to come onto the apron? I'm told, says Dennis, that if there are prisoners being transferred, then a prison bus can go onto the apron. If there are VIPs, they can drive out onto the apron. So why disabled people or people on the patient transfer, why do they have to walk all the way through, sometimes in bad weather, right through the tunnel, right into the terminal? Why can't Manx Care get a minibus out onto the apron and help people who are on patient transfer? Thank you, Dennis. If you've had an experience like that, then do get in charge. You do get in touch as well. Pulling weeds, particularly cushags. Why can't the DOI staff stop and spend 5 minutes pulling weeds instead of driving past, trying to look busy? Then they could at least report back to their own department about the problems they find, says Jay. We may start cushag watch. You never know, do you? Text, email, call, WhatsApp, hit the phones, 66 13 68. Oh, Eddie's on now. Hi, Eddie.
Hiya, Andy. It's Eddie the NIMBY.
Oh, hi.
I was otherwise engaged yesterday. I was attending a funeral, but I believe somebody phoned me up to say my name was mentioned.
Apparently, when you come on, every time you're supposed to tell everybody you live 500 metres or 150 metres from the proposed wind turbine?
I don't know. I'll have to walk it one day and just pace it exact.
I think you've said it 20 times already, but yeah.
Does it matter? It needs telling 20 times. But was it Andrew who called me a NIMBY yesterday or something?
Oh no, he said he thought everybody that if you have an interest, if you've got a kind of interest, you need to state it.
Well, I've done that all right, haven't I? Yeah. I'm just wondering. I listened to your show on Monday, and we're probably going to end up with an island full of NIMBYs at the rate we're going, because your show on Monday seemed to be, because it was announced the height and everything of these ones along the East Coast.
Yeah.
You were inundated on Monday with people. What? Never true. You know, it's coming out. I think we'll end up with somebody pointed out to me about what was going to go up at one time, Snuff the Wind with Mike Prophet. I mean, the whole island will be full of NIMBYs, I think, at one time. So
I think that was going to be smaller turbines. There were a lot of smaller turbines. These things off the east coast are, I mean, they're higher than Mackled Head. I mean, these are massive things.
Did I hear somebody say 92-storey building?
Well, it's about 1,000 feet, 300 metres, 300 odd metres.
Well, I'm not surprised that people... I've got friends over at the moment, and they're staying in a chalet, which is on the hillside at Laxey. And I stayed there myself one time. The view is incredible looking out at night. I believe one of the locals was telling me that in years gone by, when we had massive shoals of herring, which we don't seem to have a lot of now, if there was a moon about, the reflection of the herring would turn the water glittery and light it up. And it was an incredible sight. And even when that is not about, you've got the lights of the fishing boats going up and down. But I can imagine what that view would be like if we had 1,000-metre wind turbines up there with red lights on top of them. God knows.
Well, it's not like Ørsted haven't told anybody. If you go to their presentations, they've got this 3D thing that you can strap on your head like a virtual reality headset, and it will show you what it does. Now, it may be, Eddie, that some people actually like them. It may be that some people like to have these enormous things whizzing around, and that we would just get used to them if they were there.
Yeah, well, I'm not knocking whether people like them or not, but what I actually point out since I've been getting interested in the subject is the fact that it won't create cheaper electricity for the Isle of Man. It never has done anywhere in the world. You had that guy on the other day, and you know, he never pointed out anywhere that it gets cheaper electricity in the long run. I believe the lifespan of these wind turbines now has been cut down from, I think we were told originally, at least 25 years. Well, it's just over 10 years now. So imagine you're just about to start earning money from them after all your output and your inlay. And then all of a sudden you've got to renew them all.
Well, presumably the government, or whoever's negotiating on our behalf and leasing our seabed, will know all about this. They're not going to leave us out of pocket, are they?
What do you... We beg to differ. We just can't understand why they're still going down the road of where everywhere else in the world is going away from it, and yet we're going into it. I mean... The other day when that guy was on that you had on, I emphasised that Germany is opening mines left, right and centre. Well, they are. It's a fact. You can go and find out for yourself. They are. The wind is not providing them with anything like, and it's got... He gave the excuse of the war with Putin and so on. Regardless of anything that goes on in the world, we've all got that same problem. You know, you don't know whether there's going to be a Middle East war next week. Who knows? You've got to look after yourself. And the way to go for the Isle of Man with me to be self-sufficient is not wind by far. It's got to be one of the others that everybody else mentions and it gets ignored. So my all that I want people to do is consider all the other alternatives, because wind is not the way, and it's not green.
Okay. I got a message in from Jackie while you've been talking, Eddie, and Jackie just asked you, and I'll read the question out. Would Eddie be as bothered about the wind turbine if it was in Andreas?
Yes, I think is the answer, because the future is, I've emphasised this, right at the very beginning, I was thinking, oh, great, you know, so... You think, oh, great, it's a way to go, the future. But start delving into what it's really about. And if you've got kids, you'll say no, because it's their future we're actually deciding on right now. And I've got kids, and a lot of my friends have got kids, and the minute they start getting the true facts about it, and in about another 4 or 5 years, if all this goes ahead, you're going to find that not our use, but once all of a sudden they start getting married, starting families of their own, they're going to have electricity bills about 5 times what they've got now.
Okay.
So think ahead, not
all right.
now.
Appreciate it. Have a good weekend, Eddie. Thanks for calling.
And you, mate.
All the best to you. Thanks for that. By the way, just after Mannin Line today, it's Friday, so we're back into the 60th anniversary. Did you know we're 60 years old? Archive recording with Fenella Bazin. Looking at our Viking ancestors, and in particular the Chronicles of the Kings of Man, ancient text, the Chronicles of the Kings of Man and the Isles, with Fenella Bazin looking at our Viking ancestors. I mailed the DOI about the illegal parking in St George's Street and was informed by them that they were aware of the situation, but not to get my hopes up, as the yellow line machine has broken down. So it's going to be 3 to 4 months before anything can be done without the yellow line machine. Have they only got one yellow line machine? Can't you get one off eBay or Amazon? How much do they cost? Crikey. Ned's on now. Hello, Ned.
Good day to you. I've just got a quick comment. Since I've been elected onto Santon Commissioners, I've become much more democratic in my outlook, and I want to give just a one-liner just to give the debate on the turbines a little bit of reasonability.
Okay.
Now then, when I lived at Knockilabeg, they built a chimney to Peel Power Station. Now, everybody said when that was built it was going to be the end of civilization. It was the end of the world coming. Now you drive past that chimney, you never even see it there.
So you get used to stuff, you mean?
Indeed. I'm not saying that the protesters are wrong, but rather than getting really worked up over it, give it a chance. Let's see what we're complaining about. That's all I want to say. I'm looking at it from the other point of view. I went to the meeting that was held for the Roundhouse in Braddon. And really, I thought the meeting was a disaster because everybody went there to berate Braddon commissioners. Now, whether that was right or wrong, I don't know. But what my opinion was of that meeting after it finished, that it achieved very little. All it achieved was it gave the ratepayers a chance to grumble. But at the end of the meeting, they didn't come up with a solution. And I thought that was wrong. There should have been the meeting. I blamed the chairman. The meeting should have been more balanced. There should have been a balance to the debate. You can't have a debate if there's only one side there. I don't think.
Interesting.
Anyway, that's all I've got to say.
I appreciate that, Ned. Thanks for calling today.
Okay. Toot.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Ned Kenyuk from Santon Commissioners. Any thoughts on this? And we have to find a way through this. I mentioned yesterday, you get people either side arguing about it. Sometimes we have a little more heat than light. But really, in the end, we've got to get through this ourselves. Whatever's going to happen, whether we have wind turbines onshore, wind turbines offshore. And it may be, Hillary dropped a note into me just to say, is the second interconnector connected, if you like, pardon the pun, with the offshore wind farm, i.e. will Ørsted only put in the second interconnector if they can have the offshore wind? Because obviously a second interconnector will give us a lot more resilience. It means we can back up. That's our base load will come from there. We have one already, which comes from Bispam in Blackpool to just below where Manx Radio is at Port Skillion. That's been in there for ages now. Big thing that is. But it gives us resilience. It's also a fibre optic cable as well. Don't know, Hillary, whether or not the offshore wind implementation it's contingent on the interconnector coming in or vice versa. But it's something we can find out. Thanks also to Carol, who said, doesn't surprise me that there's a cruise liner coming in on Monday with hundreds and hundreds of people. I'm checking. Monday 29th, it's the Seabourn Sojourn is coming in with, I think, 448 passengers and 330 crew. So a total on board of what? 778 people on board. How many people will come on board on land next Monday? We don't know. If the weather's nice, quite a lot possibly. How many will go on the horse trams? Well...
Hello, it's Chris Hoy here. Just wanting to wish Manx Radio a very happy 60th birthday.
Been anywhere nice, love?
Yeah, I've just had a wonderful weekend away with my granddaughter, and I didn't spend a penny. I traded in some gold jewellery, watches, silverware and old cameras with Vintage Cash Cow.
Vintage Cash Cow?
That's the one. They pay a fair price for all kinds of antiques and collectibles, and these were just collecting dust in my garage. Visit vintagecashcow.co.uk to order your free postage pack.
It's time to start enjoying the garden. And from barbecues to garden furniture and machinery, tools and plants, Riley's Garden Centre has everything you need. Call Road Braddon and rileys.co.im or follow them on Facebook or Instagram.
I began to struggle with the stairs, but I didn't want to leave our family home. So my daughter told me about Acorn Stair Lifts and their new showroom in Douglas. I was able to try the stair lifts and find the right one for me and the home I love. They were so friendly. The whole process was hassle-free and they offered the whole package from installation to servicing. Choose the island's first choice for stair lifts. Acorn Stair Lifts, South Quay, Douglas.
Call Acorn Stair Lifts now on 672 414 or call into our Douglas showroom.
This summer at the Villa Marina, RS Promotions presents Definitely Oasis. Experience the look, sound and feel of an Oasis gig, recreated by one of the world's leading tributes. Book now at villagaiety.com or on 600 555. Definitely Oasis, Saturday 10th of August. Presented by RS Promotions and supported by your nation station, Manx Radio.
Radio Caroline North broadcast from the MV Caroline in Ramsey Bay from 1964 to 1968. And across the first weekend in August, Ramsey's back in the 60s with vintage vehicles and live 60s music. And on Saturday, the second and evening of the illustrated history of Caroline North and South with historians Andy Wint and Ray Clark, when the original Caroline Bell will be displayed. Tickets for the evening are £10, available at manxradio.com, and all proceeds go to support the Ross Revenge Dry Dog Appeal charity. The Caroline North weekend is August the 2nd to 4th with Radio Caroline Live at Home and Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
24 minutes before 1. Mark's with us now. Hi, Mark.
Yeah, hi, Andy. Yeah, I just wanted to, your last caller about the wind farms, and I've got a great deal of sympathy, with regards to his sort of view. And I'm torn. I'm really torn about the whole wind farm scenario, especially offshore wind farms, because they are huge, they are massive, and they change the landscape forever. But at the same time, hopefully there's a degree of economic gain for the Isle of Man. And I think the Isle of Man's going to need every single bit of economic gain it can in the near future. But I think the overwhelming thing is energy security. And one thing I do struggle with, and that's not just the Isle of Man, is that why the narrative is not looking at anaerobic digesters, because they're very, very successful. I encourage anyone to go onto YouTube and Google them, and James Dyson obviously he owns Acre. He's got a very successful anaerobic digester, and there's lots of smaller ones in Ireland, and they benefit the farming community because a lot of the agricultural products can be geared up and put into the anaerobic digester to create gas, and also a lot of waste as well. And that just seems a natural solution for the Isle of Man. The farming community's on its arse. They would benefit, and you wouldn't have these massive, big sort of wind turbines, and no one's looking at it. And I'm not a conspiratorial thinker at all, but one thing I do, I think you always have to follow the money. And who benefits from climate change? It's China. Right, and I did a bit of online Google wizardry, and I made completely wrong. But the biggest contributor to UK universities at the moment in terms of writing papers on renewable energy is China, and this has been going on for like the last 15 or 20 years. And it's just something. When everyone's sort of saying this is the way forward, it's wind, it's solar, and there's other solutions which aren't being pushed as hard. You always have to think, why is that? So. I've got a great deal of sympathy on the wind turbine. I think most people are. Energy security is very important. I think most people would rather not have them because they're not, rather than spoiling the view. But what other solutions are there? And the anaerobic digester just seems to be an obvious one. And you never hear of Tynwald talking about it. You never hear about the MUA talking about it. It just seems a logical choice. And it'll be interesting to know why they're not looking at it and why they're just maybe talking to big business. And is it because wind farms are going up everywhere else and that's the easier solution? And coming back to the lifespan of a wind turbine, which your caller mentioned before, they were meant to be 25 years. But one of my friends is a leading naval architect globally in Europe, and he is very, very doubtful on the 25-year lifespan, and he puts it more to about 15 years. This is for the offshore wind turbines, and he's an expert, and just with regard to the saltwater erosion, etc. So I've waffled on a bit, but it's just look at anaerobic digester. It's probably too late, but the offshore wind farm, which I sit on the fence. I really sit on the fence, but are there other solutions that we could be looking at which are also renewable?
Mark, that's interesting, and I think one of the things that most people struggle with is one thing I struggle with as well is who do you trust? I mean, whose word do you trust? Because, everybody seems to be selling something, whether it's a political outlook, whether it's an ecological outlook, whether it's a meteorological outlook, or whether it's big business trying to sell stuff to government. Who do we, the public, trust?
Absolutely. And I think even when you look at the IPCC and everyone, let's call them the ultra greenies, they keep quoting that. Well, yes, there is a direct link between mankind burning carbon, creating carbon, and the planet warming. But there's also a lot of, and if you look at sort of the older sort of environmentalists who are more data-driven and mathematics and physicists, they basically question that in terms of, yes, there is a link, but there's also other links like oceans, the warming of the oceans and the ocean currents that aren't being factored into the IPCC report. And there's other things like water vapor, which again, and cloud, which isn't being focused into the IPCC report. So there is a link, but I think the world we live in is so complicated, and I follow the money, and I think China's the biggest economic benefactor from global warming in terms of manufacturing all the various wind turbines and solar panels, and they're also the biggest contributor to UK. I've just looked at UK universities on environmental science. So those two things are just alarm bells. And I lived in China for sort of going on 3 or 4 years. I'm sort of aware I've got lots of Chinese friends, but they play the long game. And I'm not a conspiratorial thinker, but there's something slightly off about it in my gut. And when everyone says this is the way to go, and there's no other way, I just don't buy it. So the thing I look at, my sort of, again, I'm not an expert, anaerobic digesters just seems to be a low sort of low impact in terms of aesthetics, benefits the farming community. It can be the methane can be gas, or it can be used for electricity, but nowhere on the Isle of Man is that mentioned. Okay. And I just think it's worth looking at. Sorry, I've waffled, Andy, but there you go.
No, anything but waffle, but I appreciate it, Mark. Have a good weekend. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, all right. Take care. Bye-bye.
It's 18 minutes before 1. Thanks. I can tell you one person right now this very minute is going to be jumping up and down and punching the air, and it's Mr. Murray in Andres who proposes an anaerobic digester. That's one of his solutions for that sustainable energy project on Andres Airfield. Whether or not it's going to happen, we don't know. We don't know, but it will be one way to tie everything together neatly into a bundle, in that the agricultural sector could be harnessed to grow material for an anaerobic digester. Win-win. What do you think? Text, email, call, WhatsApp. Thank you, Corinne, who said, Andy, I take the long view on this. I think it's narcissistic of mankind to think we can affect the Earth. The Earth was here long before we were here. It'll be here long after we have gone. The Earth has withstood many, many things apart from mankind. Volcanoes, floods, ice ages, magnetic pole reversal, solar storms. It will outlast us, says Corinne. Have a think about it, she says. I'm trying to think that through, Corinne. Thank you.
Q Plus is much more than a plumbing and heating trade counter. Come and explore the largest bathroom showroom on the island, where we're always updating our displays and stocking the latest bathroom designs and trends to make sure we have just what you're looking for. Visit Q Plus on Snugborough Trading Estate or find us on Facebook to see some fabulous bathroom inspiration. qplus.co.il.
Housing, benefits or employment issues, faulty goods, bad workmanship, financial problems and relationship breakdowns. We all run into difficulties in life, and it can feel like there's no one who can help you sort them out. But at Manx Citizens Advice Service, we can help. As an independent charity, we offer free, confidential support covering all sorts of areas. You don't need an appointment. Just call in at Promenade Church, Loch Promenade, Douglas, or call 366 338. Open Tuesdays from 12:30 till 3 and Fridays 10 till 12:30. Manx Citizens Advice Service. Your advice service.
NFU Mutual has supported the Isle of Man's agricultural shows for over 40 years. They're always great social events for the whole community and an excellent opportunity for us to meet you, our customers. So do come along and meet our friendly team at the NFU Mutual tent for a quote regarding your motor, home or business insurance. Look out for NFU Mutual at this year's agricultural show.
The extended Ramsey Garden Centre is deceptively large. You'll find a warm welcome and everything from bedding and perennials, fruit and vegetables to lighting, garden ornaments, bird baths, bird tables and indoor and outdoor pots. Come and browse at Ramsey Garden Centre.
It's what Ravens fans have all been waiting for. The NWCFL Premier Division is back and FC Isle of Man will get their new season underway on home soil this weekend. Paul Jones' side will face Chadderton at the Bowl this Saturday, with both teams hoping to make the best possible start to their latest campaigns. Join me, Rob Pritchard and Tony Mepham for FC Isle of Man versus Chadderton, kicking off at 6 p.m. this Saturday. Manx Radio will be providing full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels. Live coverage of FC Isle of Man on Manx Radio is supported by Selton, investing in our community.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster Mai, good afternoon, from our Cherry Jaffa correspondent, says apparently the yellow line machine is currently being used at Tesco as we speak. Is that theirs or is it ours? And Carmel dropped a note in just to say, has the chipper been mended? At the Western Civic Community Centre, there were piles and piles of green oil tanks because the chipper that chipped them is broken. We don't know, but if anybody at the Western Civic Community Centre, has the chipper been mended? Jed's with us now. Hi, Jed.
Hi, Andy. Firstly, I'd just like to say thanks for the opportunity to appear on the show last week about the tourism subject, and I got a load of good feedback about that. So, thanks for the opportunity.
No, not at all, Jed.
And secondly, a big applause to new people phoning in, the likes of Mark and Ned just there. I did get ruffled thinking that Peel Power Station Tower was, sort of fitting into the skyline easily. I think it's a bit of an eyesore myself. And just in addition to that, he did mention about the Braddon ratepayers meeting. I did go to that, and really it was a hall full of disgruntled ratepayers who are going to be burdened with paying a lot of money over the next few years. So there was good reason to be there. But what I'm phoning about is the headline about the gaming company up on Victoria Road, where that development isn't going to go ahead. And this is quite significant. You're looking at a £70 million investment and that's going to leave quite a hole. And when you look at the strategic plan for the government that they're expecting by 2032, an extra 5,000 new jobs and an extra £200 million worth of revenue, you wonder where that plan kind of fitted in, into the strategy, because I'm not hearing really anyone talking about this latest news, but it's going to be significant for our local economy.
Well, I think, as you point out, people kind of knew about it, but where it fits in and how much it would contribute is, certainly, put it this way, Gary Proctor, Managing Director of Excel, is not happy about it because the construction company is now out on a limb, because they were due to be building that. So Excel have taken it in the short and curlies, to be quite honest.
Well, when you're looking at, say, 200 employees over this period, say the next 5 years, you're looking about millions and millions of pounds of revenue coming into the island, really, taxable income and so forth.
The thing is, Jed, we don't know what was behind all this, do we? Something's gone on somewhere, but we just don't know. Somebody knows, but we don't.
Well, you look at the fabric of the industry that we're trying to generate and how substantial it is, really. I could use the old phrase that some of these things seem to be built on sand, and we should be looking at more reliable, more traditional business, for the island. But certainly for this, when you looked at all the rhetoric on the build-up, this was going to be such a big capture for Douglas, and now it's all disappeared. So it would be interesting to see, what kind of hole it's going to leave in the plans, for this next 5 years or so.
Well, do you think government should come clean about this and tell us a bit more?
I do. It's all gone very quiet. I know the illustrious 24 have embarked on their 3-month holiday, but I think it's matters such as this will have an impact, it would appear, on our lifestyles in the future. The economy of the island, would seem to be centred around, this sector of the industry. But it would be good to hear something about it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jed.
Thank you.
All right. Good to hear from you. I think we've got, let me see, Bonzo, is it? Hi, Bonzo.
Hi, yes. Just for clarity, I live about 5 kilometres away from the Eriestane wind farm site, although I do have line of sight to it. So, I'd be able to see them, and I wouldn't be I'd be able to see them sometimes when it wasn't misty.
And would it bother you, Bonzo?
Nope, not me. No, that's not a problem for me. So, but I'll just put that there for the interests of transparency.
Okay.
Seeing as we're a bit short of time, I'll get to things quick. Following on from Ged and his talking about the King Gaming case, I think one of the reasons why that's been so quiet is because it's part of a rather larger investigation, and I think we will learn more about that in due course. And I don't think that the things we will learn about it in due course will be very pleasant for the island, either for the e-gaming or finance industry.
You just wonder, because most people, unless you're involved in the sort of guts of the operation, most people won't know what this is about. But obviously, gambling is not everybody's cup of tea.
Well, not only that, gambling, online gambling, as was cited, I think, in a UN report earlier this year, maybe March or sometime, online gambling, of course, does have some purposes within money laundering operations. So that may be an issue.
Okay,
that's just one possibility. But coming on to wider things about the finance industry, of course, yesterday the Guardian showed a overt video that they'd obtained of a representative of Baker Tilly, Isle of Man, discussing various ways to avoid inheritance tax. With clients at an event, I think, which may have actually been sponsored in part by the Department for Enterprise in London. And this comes as Rachel Reeves has been making a lot of noises about the fact that she's very short of money and, of course, has given herself no room really to get any additional money, let alone the big hole of money that she's discovered. So one or two of the ways of getting that money that she's been advised on, I think, is work on capital gains tax avoidance and work on inheritance tax avoidance, which was the inheritance tax was one of the things, of course, that the Baker Tilly guy was going on about.
And what implications would that have for the Isle of Man, do you think, politically?
Essentially, they're coming for our dinner money and they're going to get it by any means necessary.
Oh, do you think it's Gordon Brown all over again?
More than that. More than that, it will be substantial.
Okay.
And, that's something we've got to... She's announcing part of her financial measures on Monday, so we shall see.
All right. Thanks, Bonzo. Appreciate it. Good to hear from you. That's it. We're out of time now. Gotta go. Daphne said, well said, Corin. And Jesse said, I agreed with Corin entirely. The Earth is a self-correcting system, and it'll correct itself long after mankind is extinct. Well, there's something to think about. Have a great weekend. Southern Show tomorrow and Sunday. Manx Radio is going to be there, and thanks to Chris Work on the phones today. Back on Monday at high noon.
WINT. 60 years serving you as the nation station. This is Manx Radio.
This island has always been proud of its Viking antecedents, and Manx Radio has been keen to tell that story over its 60 years. A key document for reference has been the Chronicles of the Kings of Man and the Isles. Here, Fenella Bazin takes up the story.
The chronicle begins in 1000 AD with an account of King Canute of England, and the Manx story only fully enters the picture with Godred Crovan's visit to Godred Sitrixson in the year of the Battle of Hastings. He was received honourably, the point being made that 13 years later Godred Crovan was attacking Fingal, the heir to Sitric, who was ruling the Isle of Man by this time. His third attempt was successful, and we're treated to a detailed account of the battle. At this point, the chronicle bears a marked similarity to some of the Icelandic sagas. The emphasis is on heroic behaviour. His compassion to the defeated army is stressed. The reason, we're told, is that he had been reared among them for some time. Building on his success, he subdued Dublin and a great part of Leinster, and he tamed the Scots too, so much so, and here's a strange comment, no one who built a boat or ship dared to use more than 3 iron bolts. I don't know what the connection is there, but no doubt the writer at the time knew. The death of Godred Crovan led to problems over the succession. Lagman, his eldest son, quite naturally took over the throne and ruled for 7 years, but his younger brother Harold tried to seize the crown. He was captured, Lagman ordered his mutilation and blinding, but was so overcome by remorse that he abdicated and set out on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, a journey he failed to complete as he died on the way. A regency was set up until Godred Crovan's youngest son was of age, but it was not successful. Another attempt to capture the throne also met with failure. Shades of the Icelandic sagas again. The would-be king was burnt to death in the house he was in at the time. The arrival of a comet foretells great disasters. In the year 1098, a comet appeared, and Magnus Barelegs, grandson of Harald Hardrada, was warned by St. Olaf in a dream that he must leave Norway. After conquering the Orkneys and Hebrides, he arrived in the Isle of Man. Another curious detail appears here. Magnus sent his shoes to the King of Ireland, instructing him to carry them above his shoulder on Christmas Day in full view of his envoys, to show that he owed allegiance to Magnus. To keep the peace, the king agreed to this, but Magnus set out to conquer Ireland. He formed a reconnaissance group of 16 ships, but was killed and buried in St. Patrick's Church in Down.
Part of island life for 60 years. This is your Manx Radio.